So I know this is going to annoy a lot of people, but I do really think I am right on this. And if someone wants to say, no, you are wrong, I will very gladly talk to anyone on this channel. I am more than happy to have that conversation. Let me know in the comments down below. I am more than happy to have that conversation. Um, People know how to get in contact with me. They know who they are. Um, I'm more than happy to have that conversation with you. Uh, I want to have these conversations because I think they are good. I think they are productive. And I think the left should be having these types of conversations more often because, as I am really finding out, I think it comes down to um, the left is really bad when it comes to thinking and talking uh, about business, how that impacts and affects the UK, foreign policy. I think the left is really bad on foreign policy. And increasingly, I'm being very much convinced that the left doesn't even think about defense policy, how that might impact the UK, how we should respond to situations in like the Red Sea, and why it is a good thing that, we protect international shipping. So we're going to have a talk about that today. But before we do get to that, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, we have the Patreon page, the one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee. There's the YouTube thank you button. And of course, there's the Pony Club as well. So let's crack on with this. Why is it a good thing to protect international shipping? Well, think of it this way. Let's take, of course, what's going on in the Red Sea. Mainly, of course, the Suez Canal. That is one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world. Between, I think it's 12 to 15% of all international shipping uses that route. So having to go around the Horn of Africa all the way around to make that longer trip, not only does that add more fuel, and that ship will burn more fuel, so there's an environmental cost for having, advocating for a safer, shorter route through the Suez Canal. Obviously, this increases supply lines. We knew during the pandemic, where we saw the container crisis that happened because of that was being caused by the pandemic, because containers were in the wrong locations. This had a big impact on economies around the world. That is not good. You want to have good flowing supply lines. You should not be encouraging the Houthis to do this. And I would say that any leftist who is encouraging the Houthis to do this is a complete idiot. Why? Well, as we said, you've got to protect international shipping. Protecting international shipping is a good not just for one country, it is a good for the whole world. And it is no excuse to start saying, oh, but Gaza doesn't matter, because you can then, using that excuse, justify all kinds of atrocities if you wanted. Oh, but Gaza. The Houthis are blind firing at this point for anything that they can get within range. They recently hit a Saudi Arabian ship that was carrying oil to India, and that wasn't in international waters. That happened in Indian waters. Now, luckily, none of the crew was injured. So we got lucky on that one, at least. But as we've seen from Ukraine, Ukraine has developed its own seaborne drones that have proven very effective at taking out Russian ships. What if those get into, again, hands like, the Houthi rebels or another terrorist group that maybe decide, attacking international shipping lanes is a good way to try and get what you want, because after all, let's say Britain or the US could just push the magic button and, stop what's going on in Gaza, because that's literally what many people think, that we can just push this magic button and it will just stop what's going on in Gaza instantly. But that's another topic for another time. What does that send to the world? Well, it sends a message to pretty much any terrorist organization, any group that wants to God knows what. If you attack international shipping, you can pretty much force the world to do whatever you want. And bear in mind, the Suez Canal and that route to the Red Sea is just 12 to 15%. What if it's done in somewhere like the Straits of Johor, where 30% of the world's shipping is done? There is a reason why, when the UN Security Council came together, they voted on a resolution to say, hey, Houthis, do not do this. They've been, I will repeat every single time, they were warned repeatedly, knock it off or you'll find out what's going to happen. And as a result, ships trying to do, or at least travel through the Suez Canal at the moment, their insurance premiums have gone up. It used to be 0.006% that they used to pay as an insurance premium. That has now gone up to 0.5%. That may not seem a lot, but when you are paying that per consignment on a ship, that you can have seen how big container ships are. That's a lot of money that starts adding up. And we should strike back at people who target international shipping, because there are other choke points around the world for international trade where they could be struck, where terrorist groups could strike these targets and do immeasurable damage to the world economy. You know, the UN has said, to the Houthis under the UN Security Council resolution, which, bear in mind, the UN Security Council very rarely does agree on things, but it agreed on this: do not attack international shipping. And yet, the Houthis did this back in 2016. America responded, they stopped. Because the next step now is that the Houthis themselves decide to accelerate this by firing more drones, using more ship missiles. And guess what? There'll be another response. Because once again, you should not encourage this type of action. Because protecting international shipping and supporting the right to freedom of navigation, very important international rules. Because remember, we are an island. We sort of, rely on international shipping. Kind of why we joined in with America on that and sent our own one of our destroyers out there, and then struck Houthi targets as well in Yemen. And bear in mind, if you think striking the target was like the wrong way, like a military response was the wrong way, what else should we have done? Because I am very, very open to try and have that conversation with people. If people want to have that, I will, gladly say, come on, we'll have a talk, we'll have a chat, let's talk about this. Because you should not be encouraging this. It is not morally okay for the Houthis to start doing this. Inflationary costs do matter, although I've seen some people in my other videos say, oh, whatever, inflationary costs don't matter. You've got people in this country struggling to buy basic necessities because of inflation. Houthis doing this and striking ships in the Suez Canal gonna have increase inflation and make people's lives trying to afford basic foodstuffs a little bit worse. So this is why you should not mess or be encouraging messing with international shipping. So, as always, thank you very much. Like I say, let me know what you think down in the comments below. And of course, we'll see you all next time.